Hey everybody, hope you all had a good weekend. We did have some green in the charts this week, which was great on at least some of the tokens. There was a question asked in the group, and I'll get to that here in a minute. First, I want to cover BTC, and then I'm going to kind of go over my thought process on Zcash, for example. And I know a lot of people don't have Zcash. I think I did a call on it in the last cycle. So people that were around then probably have some. I don't think I mentioned anything about it this cycle. However, there's a lot of learning, and I can explain my thought process on the Elliott wave count and why I decided not to pull off profits. So you guys can use that for a future token that you might be looking at if you're looking at it on your own. And so we'll just kind of go over that. We'll go over ICP. ICP's got more volume than any other coin that I've seen. So good thing we've been accumulating that. I said under $10 was a good buy, and I've been saying that for a while. And I'll break that down a little bit more here in just a few minutes. But let's take a look at BTC. So you still have a cross to the downside, right? So BTC looks pretty kind of rough right now. We really want this to cross back up and then pass through that 20 line. It just hasn't done it yet. We are also closing candles under this short-term trend line, but we did retest this trend line. Okay. We're also closing above support here, which is this area of support. So if it was gonna bounce and close somewhere, that would be where it was most likely going to. Okay, so we've got this major trend line here. Once we break that, we're probably in a bear market. Okay, um, you can look at any trend line in previous history, and anytime we've broken a major trend line like that, we've been in a pretty severe bear market. Now, this cycle is a little bit different whenever it comes to altcoins. They've, from their old high to the area that we're at now, it's been prolonged. Okay, so BTC, based on old cycles, should top in this box, right? So if we topped up here, which again, it's the altcoins still haven't caught up. So maybe BTC tops and then the altcoins run for a while. That's kind of what I'm expecting. Or BTC somehow breaks out of this again, and we still end up somewhere around this top trend line at the Fibonacci level. So there's not really a way to know how this is really going to play out. But either way, we're going to look at the altcoins and the Elliott waves on the altcoins and get out of those whenever we can. Even if BTC top, the alts should still rise. Okay, we don't want to break this though, because if you closed candles below here, you'd probably come all the way back down to about 75,000 or so. Okay, and then you could bounce again up here, and then altcoins top up here, and then you print a right shoulder here, and then you crash down to 50K or so. Okay, so you do have a left shoulder ahead here, and then a potential for a right shoulder in a couple years. So that's something that if we don't get out of this pattern where we're at now, it's probably what you're likely to see. All right, so indicators, weekly still looks like trash. 3-day, still nothing really special there. I mean, you are on that trend line, so we should bounce. Okay, daily looks okay. We need to start printing green histograms for the momentum to kick us back up to this top trend line. But what you still can do here is just bounce while the alts run and then fall out of this pattern. Okay, again, this is a very bearish pattern, and that is why I have the box here for that to top. So that's kind of what we're looking at on BTC. Okay, so let's look at ICP real quick. I'm going to do ICP and then we'll look at the Zcash and then I'll go over those questions. All right, so the volume here, I've posted a couple videos or pictures about this. So this is daily, right? The daily volume over here for this big move to the upside was yay big, okay? And it was only a couple of them, right? You have a whole week in there, 3 times the size, 4 times the size almost. Okay, now if we look at a weekly, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 times the size. And when it comes to Elliott wave, you don't know if this is going to stop. So you can draw a Fibonacci on here, right? We can take a Fibonacci and go from, we'll put a regular one on there. Apply defaults. Oops. Okay. So let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. All right. So this is how you put a Fibonacci on there. Let's actually put it on a logarithmic. Okay, so once wave 1 is done, you know it's probably going to retrace at least to the 0.382, maybe the 0.5 or the 0.613. Okay, those are your buy times, right? And then if you get a major fake out for an ABC retracement, wave 1 can retrace 100%, or wave 2 can retrace 100% of wave 1. So that can happen. And that's what it did here, right? And I was saying that for a very long time, but then once you're done, you start with wave 3. Okay, and then this is what you want to see. Big, huge green volume that comes in, bigger than over here. Okay, that's like the golden indicator, right? So now we've started wave 3, and I was just saying to buy under $10 because we were between these Fibonacci levels. We're on support, and wave 3 has to pass wave 1, right? So wave 3 can come just up to, wave 3 most likely is going to come maybe up to here, potentially higher, right? But based on Elliott wave, it just has to pass wave 1, and then wave 4 has to correct, and then it can go up just a little bit more. So we're going to have to look at the waves and the counts as we go up, right? There's not, you can kind of, like if I'm looking at this volume right here, I kind of want to even push this wave 3 actually higher than where it is now. But let's just be conservative for right now and see kind of how this actually plays out. But that's how you use a Fibonacci. You'd buy on these Fibonacci levels, right, after a retracement. But you're just not sure how far it's really going to go. But a lot of the tokens don't retrace 100%. They normally just fall to like the 0.618 or maybe the 0.786. But we can look at a whole bunch of different altcoins, and they're all going to show something different. But anyway, so you've got 3 marching soldiers here, which is just a smaller candle, a bigger candle, and then a huge candle, right? So it just marks a continuation or a trend reversal, which is pretty obvious at this point. That was the bottom for wave 3. We ran up in 3 weeks 364%, so we knocked out a year's worth of downward price action almost in 3 weeks. So a lot of these tokens are going to do that. It should be really fast, like I said, just because we're running out of time. That's the only way that I would express that. We should have really, like, based on other cycles, we should have at least been way up here, but we're not. So we're still down here, so it should catch up within time and price. Okay, but again, those of you that have ICP, congratulations. It's looking pretty good. It's looking really, really good. So this is one thing. You can look at a 3-day and see how this volume's pretty large here. It's large compared to over here, but it's going up on less and less volume. Even on this peak here, it hit a new high with less volume. So we're continuing to go up on larger volume. Okay, so there's nothing to really worry about. Basically just means buying pullbacks. So we might have just tested this level right here, and then now we continue up. There is a chance to enter into this box around $6 to $5, but then we would go up. If you're waiting to buy something like this, I would just be buying on the next level of support. This is really explosive, so you might just come down, touch it, and then start just melting up really, really fast. I mean, even the monthly, if we look at the monthly volume, I mean, the month's only 10 days in, it still has 20 days, and this is twice the size of this big, huge green month here. Most likely this candle is going to be a lot larger than this one. Okay, now where can this go? So again, the minimum that this whole count could go would be back up to maybe $25. Right, based on Elliott Wave, the minimum this can go is $25. But that's basically saying that, let's look, that's basically saying that wave 3 is barely going to move past this, and then wave 4 is going to do something like this, and then wave 5 would do something like this, which is not very likely. Okay, I don't think I've ever seen something like that. Most likely what's going to happen, wave 3 does something like this, goes to maybe $50, possibly higher. Okay, and then maybe pulls back down to wave 4 cannot pass and close below this $20 mark. Okay, and then wave 5 can just barely pass 3, or it can melt past 3 quite a lot. Based on that volume, I think ICP, I've said this before, that ICP I think is going to be a winner this cycle, a really, really big winner. And it's starting to play out that way. So a lot of people are probably going to be talking about ICP in the next month or so. And a lot of people will be buying, I think, significantly higher than where it's at now. Okay, so, hopefully we make it to $100. We're just going to have to count the Elliott waves. Can it make it higher? Yes, it can. Can it not make it to $100? Yes, it can. We're just going to look at the volume and see on lower time frames, are we going up on less volume? There are some times that I've seen altcoins top as they are going up in volume, and we can look. I don't remember which ones. But the majority of the time, if it's going up on larger volume, it's got more to go. Okay, so the weekly looks great. Let's see what the 2 week looks like. Did that close? Yeah, 2 week close. Looks really good. Daily, it's kind of getting a little overexhausted here, so like I said, it can pull back or it can turn around where it's at now. 3 days getting ready to pass through the zero line, probably in the next couple days, and that'll push some more momentum in the market. Last time we passed through the zero line, you had this pretty significant move to the upside. Over here, you passed through the zero line, you had a really significant move to the upside. So we still have a long ways to go. And I'm not going to sit here and just take profits at points. I'm really going to make sure we are charting this one really well, because this is one that I've bought the majority of in the bear market. Okay, so let's look and see if there's any other tokens that topped as it was going up on larger volume. So get this one. We're going to look at a weekly time frame. Okay, so for example here, you were going up on larger and larger volume, right? You went up on less volume here, so you had divergence. Okay, so it sold off 50% or whatever, and then you made a new high on less volume, which Binance is probably not the best one to be using, but this still plays out. Okay, so that's what you need to worry about whenever you're getting close to the top. Probably 70% of the time, maybe more than 70%. Let's look at Bitstamp. Let's see if that did anything. Doesn't show the last cycle, so let's look at another one. Maybe Kraken. Yeah, so Kraken going up on larger volume and then topped on lower volume. Okay, let's look at LTC. This is one that was going up on more volume and it topped. Okay, so that's a time where you need to be a little concerned, right? This could be, let's look at another chart. You want to take several different charts into account. Yeah, see, this one still went up and it topped on higher volume. Okay, so that does happen sometimes. BCH, let's look at that one. It's probably actually the same situation. Well, it's not good data. BCH, USD, Binance, maybe. No, not a good chart to look at. Let's look at Doge. Let's look at Coinbase. It doesn't show the last cycle. Doge, USD. Let's look at Binance. So it's going up on large volume here, it's going up on less volume here, and then it tops on less volume. So the majority of the time you're going to be able to see something like this. Let's look at ETH. Let's look at Coinbase on ETH. Okay, so ETH was going up on large volume here, and then it topped here on less volume, or right here on less volume. Okay, then it made a new high on even less volume. Okay, over here you have large volume here, smaller volume here, smaller volume here, and then it tops on even less volume. Okay, right here. Okay, so as long as you have growing volume, especially in the beginning of an upward price movement, there's nothing to worry about taking profits. Okay, now let's look at Zcash. This is not the best chart to be looking at either, because it just doesn't show all the data. But look at what you see here. You see volume growing here. You even have bigger volume right here. Now, I did mention that the volume was declining on smaller time frames, and I want to show you this. Okay, so you're going up, at least at the time, right? You're going up on less volume. So this was when I posted that. Let's look at a daily real quick. Yeah, you were still around this area. You were going up on less volume, and you were approaching its old high. Its old high was like at 750 or something like that. Okay, so that was something to keep in the back of your mind. Well, we're probably going to pull back at its old high because we're going up on less volume on smaller time frames. But from a cycle perspective, and you look at a weekly, it's still going up on large volume. So most likely within the next maybe a few days, maybe a month, you break the old high. So the old high is right around this 750 level. Well, I guess 870. Okay, where are you going to go once you do that? Well, you have your fib level here, and then you have your target breakout point, which this was the smaller, rougher target. You're really supposed to use from the top over here to the bottom, and then put it where the breakout is. But both of these are, this is this one. Okay, and if I put it right there, it covers all the price, but that brings it to like $5,000. So there is a chance that it does make it to 5,000. Okay, but there is a chance that it only makes it to this $2,000 level. Now, what you could see is 3 actually makes it up here, and then you have a 70% correction or so, and then it makes it up here. But from this point to this point up here is only 161%. So your risk from holding from here to up here is, you could go into a bear market from there, or you could try to get another 100 and something percent, which you could get that in silver right now if you bought silver probably, which is a safer bet. So you have to consider everything whenever it comes to that. Now, one other thing I was looking at is that this wave 3 looks like it could be done here as well, right? So you have your first wave right here, and then this is wave 3, but these are the sub waves. So 1, 2, potentially 3, 4, 5, or 5. Okay, wave 3 just can't be the smallest. So this can make it all the way up here. Now, I highly doubt it would just moonshot, way up here. It could. However, if you were buying down here, like I think I'm up like 1,000% right now. So from $40 to this price, you're up 5,400%. Once this is done, the next cycle is most likely going to do some kind of an ABC correction like this, it might last 2 cycles again. Okay, so if you make it to 5,000, you would have a bear market, and then it wouldn't make a new high, and then you go sideways again, maybe making a new low like this one did, and then go back up. That's a potential. So that's kind of the thought process on Zcash and how to pull out your money. Just always look at different exchanges to take a look at the volume. Like Coinbase is pretty good because that's all retail, so that's mainly who's that's just a very big platform, right? It has a whole bunch of different volume all over the world. And then Binance is okay, but it tends to, I mean, you don't have America in there, right? We can't, I don't know if Binance US puts the same volume on there. I've just seen some coins that have weird looking volume on Binance. But Coinbase seems to be pretty good. But whenever Zcash enters somewhere around this area, that's where I'll be pulling off my money. Okay, if it makes it up there. Okay, so let's get to the questions. Kai asked, hypothetical question. BTC smashes through the 50-week moving average. Okay, let's get to this real quick. I'll actually see if I can find a good chart that's clean. Okay, so let's do the 50 here. Let's hide all the other ones. Oops. So this is the SMA, which is pretty close. It's probably not much of a difference, but you're holding it really well. You've held it the entire bull market. But he's saying hypothetical situation. We broke through the 50 weekly moving average, which was regarded as a key level. If BTC dominance was to go higher again, example 62 to 63%, forming a deeper right shoulder and testing the BTC 60 through 70 weekly moving average, 93 to 99K. Let's see, 93 to 99. Okay. What are your chances for or even lower prices? So he's basically saying, what are the chances for lower prices on SUI, ADA, Doge, and HBAR, ETH? I mean, normally when BTC crashes like that, everything crashes. So if we crash through this 50-week moving average down to 90 something, yeah, everything would probably go lower than where it is now. But let's look at HBAR. And he says HBAR 12 cents. Yeah, I mean, if BTC crashes, most likely this is probably going to retest this trend line. I mean, if that happens, it's probably 80%, but 70% probably. So BTC basically needs to hold the weekly moving average. If it crashed down, it'd probably get bought up again. But eventually it's not going to get bought up anymore. and it's going to stay below that moving average, and that's where we're going to be in probably a world of trouble. Hopefully we'll be out of the altcoins by then. I would really not expect BTC to break that until all the alts have topped. So yeah, that's what I would say. Okay, and then SUI 160 to 180. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could pierce through this again and then run up from there. Yeah, that's probably where you would go if BTC did that. It looks pretty good. You are getting a bounce here. And to be clear, I don't really think that's going to happen. I think it's probably, maybe 20% chance that would even happen right now. Oh, here's the second part. BTC closes above the 50-week moving average. Looks like we're safe. Trump is thinking of stimulus 2K checks. Sounds a bit like COVID time again for all season. Yeah, that's actually a good question to find out when were the stimulus checks for COVID. So history's kind of repeating itself. And so we got stimulus checks during COVID. When was it? April 11th. So we got stimulus checks right here, and then things just started running up. So we would get them in a different part in the cycle, right? We'd probably get them somewhere kind of like up here, right here. Trump is gonna send out $2,000 to every American because of the tariff revenue. At least that's the news, what it says. So it's kind of similar situation. So yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming a lot of the market would move up. I guess he asked this question before the weekly close. So for right now, we're good. I really think things are just gonna. Based on this move here, this tells me that the entire market is getting ready to move. Now, XRP, ETH, those two can move a little bit later. I would expect some of the coins that are pretty low to move first. And what you should see here on something like ICP is a 3-wave move maybe something like this. We should be entering three of three pretty soon. 4 and then 5. Have a sharp pullback, probably very short-term pullback. Probably be scary, and then another fifth leg to the upside. Okay. Let's look at XRP. Looks like it's moving a little bit, and this could be one of the first ones to move. It could be one of the last ones. Could be one of the first ones. There is a lot of hype around XRP. However, it had a whole bunch of hype over here, and it's been going sideways for a long time. So maybe this actually does move before everything else. You do have bullish divergence on a daily, so this should bounce a little bit. The 3-day might cross in the next 3 days. That would be bullish for XRP. One thing I'm a little worried about that it might take a while is because the 3 days so far away from that. But if you get a big green candle, it can change really quick. Okay, and then also the weekly is still crossed to the downside. Good thing about this, you can see that we are getting bullish divergence as long as this curves around, probably, hopefully where it's at now. You'd have weekly bullish divergence on the RSI as well as the stochastic, or the MACD, okay, which indicates a bounce from there. But most likely it's going to top with bearish divergence. You have bullish divergence right here, and then we bounce from there, and then we top somewhere up here. Okay, this can be lower, can be higher, but most likely topping before we get to this area. You could even top at the same level, but I think that's too far for this to go. Probably topping somewhere around here. But I would really expect us to see bearish divergence on a weekly chart. Now, how long can this last, right? How much longer can this bull cycle last? How short can it be? And then how much longer can it be? So normally crypto tops in December. That's pretty common, December, January. So that's a potential. You could actually, everything could top in January. Like if we look at ETH, it tends to top. This one topped in, November, December. I think this one here was January. So that's pretty common that it actually tops within November to January. If we don't make it to this $8,000 level by that time frame, it could last a little bit longer, I suppose. But this box ends in January. I mean, I really don't expect us to go past that. However, it could, maybe a couple months, but everything's just probably going to move up really quick. Okay, let's even look at the weekly here. Still doesn't look good for ETH, at least long term. Short term still needs to kind of catch up here. Yeah, we probably will bounce this week though, I would think. But yeah, I mean, nothing that still looks good for ETH. Let's look at XLM. XLM starting to look okay here. You did enter that area, so buying under 30 cents I think is a pretty sweet deal here. And XLM can pull a Zcash. Okay, you had this huge quick move up. If we can get out of this pattern that we're in, there's some pretty significant moves that this can make. You do have a low volume pullback here, which is great. This looks really good. The indicators probably look just like, so the daily looks great. It's passed through the MACD. 3-day, you've got a cross. You need to pass through the 20 line, which should happen hopefully by next week. The weekly just looks a lot like XRP, but again, one strong week could change everything. HBAR is also probably the same. Weekly looks like it's going to pass through the 20 line next week, so that would be good. Start to push some momentum into the market, and then the 3-day should cross. So this one should run before XRP and XLM. At least based on those indicators. Let's look at Litecoin. I'm really tired of talking about this one, but gotta go over it. Litecoin's getting some good daily volume in there. Let's look at the weekly. Weekly did pass through the 20 line. You got a really bullish candle here. Again, guys, you pass through that, you probably head straight to $400. I really hope we break out of this $400 level, because I do not want to sit through this again, printing out another one of these for the next cycle. So if ETH is at like $8,000 and this is sitting at $400, I might just take my money out. We'll see. You know, Litecoin can do something like this too. It's gotten really pinched up here. The Bollinger Bands, I could probably even look at those, and they probably look really tight. Yeah, I mean, those are pretty tight. So it's going to point one way or another. Let's look at the monthly. Week maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's going to go one direction or the other eventually. Let's look at the Bitcoin dominance. That'll be the last thing that we look at today. Next week, hopefully everything's real green, and then we kind of move on from there. Okay, so the 2 week. Hopefully this crosses back down. I would really expect that to cross back down. You have a bearish candle here. You have another bearish candle here. We're expecting alts to run, so that helps. You got a bearish candle here. You got a bearish candle here. One thing that I did notice that we did confirm across to the upside. But we could just have a fake out, just like this one over here. You had 2 weeks that went green, and then a major sell-off. So I would have, like I said last week, I expected us to not do this, which I was hoping that we wouldn't do that. But I still think that this would turn around and we just print red candles. I mean, looking at the altcoins and everything, I would really expect that. So just a fake out here. And then this curving back down real quick. So let's see after next week. Next 2 weeks we'll know if it was a fake out, obviously, but you know, we really want to be going red for the alts to run. Okay guys, that's all I have for today. Nothing really more to cover. But if there's anything that pops up in the charts, I will give you, I'll let you know in the chat group. So I hope y'all have a good week, and I will talk to y'all on Wednesday.